Hello everyone, my name is Lowko and welcome to a best of 5 series of top level StarCraft 2. What I've got for you today is a Protoss versus Zerg, where in the top right hand corner we have none other than MaxPax and his opponent giving the GLGL. We're looking at Reynor's main hatchery. Guys, I don't have my health bars on. No, that's the wrong health bars too, Lowko, you're a professional! Perfect. This particular series was recently played during the LiuLi Cup. This is, I believe, a $7,000 tournament. Quite a good chunk of change on the line. So, of course, Europe's very best players came out to play. And, well, both MaxPax and Reynor are absolutely amazing. I feel like MaxPax has been making a ton of progress, especially over, like, the last year or so. I mean, he was already getting to the tippity top about a year ago. He's already been competing against the best of the best for quite a long time. But MaxPax still, at least when it comes to StarCraft, you know, a relative newcomer to this level of gameplay. Reynor, of course, well, he's been the world champion of StarCraft 2. He's won many tournaments over the years. Still a very young player, actually. So Reynor actually just recently announced on Twitter, or X, or Xitter, whatever you want to call it. He mentioned that he managed to get the Grandmaster League in League of Legends. Yeah, a little bit of a different game. Apparently incredibly impressive for the amount of time he's been playing. So I had a quick little look, because there were some rumors going around and some people that were like, maybe he's got to become a League of Legends pro. Something along those lines. Obviously, he's got the connections. And I was wondering, how old is Reynor at this point? Because I have been casting his games for like 7 years. It's been a while. Reynor is currently 22. I have been casting this man's games for so long. He is 22 years old. I think MaxPax is like 19 or 20. I am old, is what it all comes down to. Yeah. I used to be the new kid in the StarCraft block, you know, but nowadays, apparently, I am the ancient old man who is mostly just grumbling and complaining about the good old days. That'll be me. Yeah. Anyways. Both of these players, certainly incredibly good. And we'll have to see what happens to StarCraft 2 in the future, I suppose, for Reynor to also make up his mind. But it is really nice to see that apparently the skills do carry over to other games as well. I've actually always noticed this, especially at tournaments like, for example, Home Story Cup, where the players are usually just kind of there, right? Obviously, for most events, they're kind of in like a separate place, or they have like a playing area. But basically, the vibe at a Home Story Cup is pretty laid back. And I have seen many of the pro gamers play many different games over the years. Most recently, they were playing Super Vive, but I know historically they've played like Dota, they've played a little bit of everything. And there's one thing that I always noticed, that at the very beginning of the weekend, maybe their very first games, they are just experimenting, but by the end of the tournament, it's a StarCraft event, by the end of the StarCraft event, the guys would be playing absolute top tier. They'd be incredibly good. A little bit of a Zergling push here. Gets one probe. Nothing to write home about, but he also gets a full scout. A couple of probes need to go back to mining. That's a bit unfortunate. MaxPax probably thought he already sent those in. Anyways. Yeah, I have noticed over the years that pro gamers, believe it or not, are good at video games. Yeah. Yeah, this is maybe a bit of a surprise. But also just the speed at which they pick up new video games always surprises me. Like, I play a lot of games. I stream... maybe like 35, 40 hours. I play a lot of games every week. I've been playing basically non-stop for the vast majority of my life. And it takes me a while to pick up games. For most of them, I'm not even, well, maybe I can be like top 10%, right? Maybe if I really try, like with StarCraft, I can become pretty decent. But it takes me a long time to get good at games. Turns out pro gamers in StarCraft 2 pick up video games very rapidly. Now, the third base right there for MaxPax, as I was yapping along, got denied for a bit. It will start up though, 4 minutes and 13-ish seconds into the game. He's been dealing a bit of damage too on the other side of the map. Oracle might want to, turn off its pulsar beam there. Ultimately, we're talking 3 drones in total, 2 probes, 7 Zerglings too. Not a terrible start though for Reynor, because this third Nexus is actually a little bit delayed, as we have MaxPax going into the good old Glaive Adepts. Okay. Nice to see, actually. Recently, I did cast that series featuring Hero going up against Serral. And in that particular match, we actually did see that against the very best European Zerg, you can catch them off guard, apparently, going for some very aggressive Twilight Council plays. This is not that popular a build at the absolute highest level, and I feel like it's almost a bit out of character for MaxPax. Now, obviously, MaxPax mixes this sort of thing in. One thing I used to say about MaxPax about a half year ago is that he was a bit predictable. He would pretty much always go triple Oracle into just good old Blink Stalker and just play the most ordinary style possible. But he's been doing a lot of this. He's been mixing it up and going for strategies that are considered to be a little bit weaker, but by no means are weak, right? It's one of those builds that would be considered like A tier. If strategies were a tier list, this would be like an A tier build. Roaches are coming up. MaxPax is going to shade them across, and I think it's lovely. MaxPax used to play this game like he was playing best of ones, just in rapid succession, right? He would play a best of 3 series, just do the same build every single time. Now he's playing an actual game of StarCraft, a series of StarCraft. Oh no, this is so bad for Reynor! He's trying to wall himself in, but he accidentally put a creep tumor in that. That is embarrassing. That is a misplaced creep tumor. Rarely does it come into effect. He's trying to build up a wall here, but this is the most cursed looking wall at a high level of StarCraft that I've seen in a long time. A depth shade in. Yeah, these are the types of mistakes that you can get away with 9 out of 10 times. Well, maybe more than 99 out of 100 times. Especially against MaxPax, it probably does not matter. But that is a little embarrassing, and it is going to cost Reynor quite dearly. 14 drones go down. Bunch of the adepts are still, well, grouping up and being a nuisance. I think that may be the end of the aggression. Yeah. But already, the Blinky boys are coming up on the back of this. So, we've got Blink, we've got +1. MaxPax is following this up with a more conventional mid-game. Obviously, those 17 drones going down is bad. But also, we are now nearly 7 minutes into it. And it's not quite the same as the Oracles early on, killing a whole lot of workers. 20 workers, though, is hard to overcome. But you can tell here that Reynor is holding down the drone button. And this is one of the big complaints that I have seen for many years on the StarCraft 2 subreddit and on the Battle.net forums. Yeah, you can really punch the Zerg in their guts, but then a couple seconds later, they are already back up to your previous worker count. And yeah, worker-wise, Reynor has caught up, but obviously the big advantage right now that MaxPax has created for himself is time. So, Reynor cannot really tech up here to like a quick hive. He can't do that while also making drones at the same time. He's trying to just stay alive, and it's focusing his unit composition primarily into Roach, Ravager, Zergling. That is essentially what he's going for now. It's pretty much the only choice that he's got. Until he takes a good fight, he cannot really tech up very easily. MaxPax, on the other end, does have a little bit more wiggle room in that department. So I would say he's probably got about a minute worth or so of an advantage, and that is a lot in a game of StarCraft. It's very fast-paced. Good Blink Stalker control. You can see here that MaxPax does not want to let his foot off the gas. Don't know if he's got a driver's license. Maybe. But he doesn't want to let go of this game, and he does not want to give his opponent any wiggle room. This aggression is not so much to try and get a lot of damage done. It's mostly here to force Zerg to not continue droning. So this obviously, when you have this many Stalkers knocking at your front door, you need to make a lot of army here as the Zerg player to defend. And MaxPax has these Stalkers anyway, so you may as well use them wisely. Storm on the back of this. We've got ourselves Charge now also coming up. Do we have a Robo facility yet? We do. Okay, important to, yeah, get one of those going. The Storm follow-up has become a lot more popular lately. We used to see a lot more Robo play. We do still see Robo play as well, but the Quick Storm is kind of nice. Although, against a Roach Ravager, like a pure Roach Ravager army, it's not the most useful weapon of choice. So many Stasis Wards set up, by the way. I saw a long rant on Reddit this morning about somebody not enjoying the Stasis Ward meta, that's what he called it, very much. Apparently every game he plays, there's just Stasis Wards everywhere you go. Ooh, Reynor is really going to double down. He's decided to go into the burrow. Yeah, we're gonna go Tunneling Claws together with Burrow. So his means of coming back in this match is going to be Roaches underground. It's a little risky, but when you lose that many drones, you have to make a choice. And apparently that will be what he decides to do. And I think him going up against Storm is actually not the end of the world. If this would have been like double Robo into Mass Immortal production or whatever, this would have been 10 times worth here. Or worse here, rather, for the Zerg player. Still, MaxPax is in a commanding, or a, I wanted to say commandeering and commanding at the same time. He's in a very nice spot. Okay, so the roaches over here, I think, are the ones that are supposed to tunnel on the ground. We do have a photon cannon in both the natural as well as the third, as well as the fourth. We don't have anything inside of the main base, but obviously photon cannons are detectors. So just running by this is going to become very obvious. The photon cannon range will probably, the detection range is probably going to be about that far. Few of the stasis wards are now being triggered. Reynor is seeing whether or not he's got to be able to chase this down. He notices the little blur, decides to just pop it. But that photon cannon should make life much easier. And one downside here for Reynor is that the roaches get nice little gelled spikes up on there. It's like their 90s haircut, you know? If you're old like me, you may remember. Anyways. Maybe it was early 2000s, I don't know. They do get that nice spiked haircut, though, and it becomes very obvious to MaxPax that these units need to be... you need to make sure you're defending against it. So, Photon Cannon is coming up. That's a second one inside of the natural expansion. I wouldn't mind another Observer or two, but I guess he's feeling like he is fine. MaxPax in no hurry. Sends in a round of Zealots. Oh, you know what? One of those groups of roaches does manage to get a decent trade. Bunch of Zealots inside of the main base too, just to be a nuisance. Quite a few drones are going down once again. Aggressive blink forward, grabs a lot of the Ravagers, and Reynor decides that he no longer wants to play this game. Beautiful match by MaxPax. Trying to think if MaxPax made any mistakes in that previous match. I don't think so. That was about as good a game as you can play as Protoss. Yeah. This is why I keep saying that MaxPax is the real deal. There's still some doubters. Some people don't believe that MaxPax is as good as many people are saying that he is, but MaxPax really is extremely solid. Macro-wise, micro-wise, strategy-wise, I can't really find any real mistakes. I've noticed that the one weakness MaxPax still seems to have, and that's really the only thing I've noticed, the one weakness that he still has is that when he gets thrown off of his strategies early on, especially against players like, for example, Dark, that specialize in that sort of thing, he seems to have a relatively tough time recovering. But that's one of those things where I feel like most of it is just experience. Obviously, he plays a stupid amount, because... well, I cast a lot of MaxPax. MaxPax, he basically plays in every tournament under the sun. Most of the pro gamers have been doing that for a decade plus. Maybe not so much Reynor, but there is no denying that, MaxPax is getting a lot of experience very rapidly. And that's really the only thing that comes to mind. But MaxPax is feeling good, and he's playing, well, the way that he was in that previous match. He seems very difficult to beat. Now, let's be real, though. Reynor accidentally not walling himself in because he put a creep tumor down. So, to clarify, the creep tumor was blocking a 3x3 structure. So, the smallest structure that Zerg can make is 2x2. A spine crawler. Or a spore crawler, I guess. Reynor had the creep tumor positioned in such a way that he couldn't quickly complete the wall off. So, he tried making a bunch of Evo chambers there. And that entire wall that he put in a natural to try and block the adepts was just super cursed. It's one of those mistakes that just... is completely unnecessary, because at the time that you put down the creep tumor, so this is one of the questions you sometimes have to answer yourself as a Zerg player, right? So say this map, when the queen comes out and she wants to put down a creep tumor, usually you want to try and put the creep tumor as far away from the hatchery as possible, so it covers as much terrain as it can, right? But sometimes you have to hold back a little bit and put the creep tumor over here. Rather than putting it all the way on the edge, you gotta put it a little closer just so you don't stupidly block your own units a little bit later on. And it's a small mistake, one that usually doesn't cost you much. One that usually you can get away with, and you get a little bit more creep spread in return. So maybe it was actually deliberate. See that little play right there, by the way? Purposely sending the early probes to the close-by mineral fields. Doubling up on the close-by mineral fields over here, too. A lot of small moves here that MaxPax is utilizing. It is actually the standard at high-level StarCraft. All of the top-tier pro gamers will be trying to double up on the mineral fields that have less distance to travel to first. Most of the time, it's the main base. So most of the time it's the main base that gets doubled up immediately. So for the first, like, I don't know, 12 workers or so, you do get a bit of a benefit. The grand total is maybe like 10, 15. On a good day, maybe 20 minerals. But it does mean that the spawning pool for Zerg, for example, can come up a little bit quicker. And it is to be expected at this level to see the players prioritize that sort of thing, but I never bother, personally. Whenever I play a game, admittedly, I haven't played a lot of ladder lately, but whenever I play a game, I just want to make a couple drones and I'll let them find their own way. Alright, third Nexus coming up nice and early here for MaxPax. This is a really quick one. So this is another play that MaxPax historically hasn't really been very fond of. Generally speaking, MaxPax will go for the second gateway before the third Nexus. One way you can circumvent that and still have a full wall off is by putting the pylon in the wall. MaxPax did not put the pylon in the wall. He just simply left a wide open space over here. This is a very vulnerable play against somebody who can run Zerglings across the map. Lucky here for MaxPax, he gets away with it. And these are little changes. It's not really that significant, but these are little changes that make MaxPax very unpredictable. Because some games he will do this. This is technically very greedy. Some games he will go for the Twilight Council and go into Glaive the Depths. Some days he will just go into the good old Blink upgrade first. There's a lot of variety. And while, if you zoom out, right, the general scope of his game plan is basically always identical. We're actually mixing it up again. This is Archon drops. Yeah, he's been switching his playstyle a bunch. And I'm here for it. Very nice. So this is a single Oracle into very quick Archon drops. Off of like a, what is this? Like a 330 third Nexus. The nice thing about this greed is that, just barely not enough energy. The nice thing about this Protoss greed here is that you don't really need to kill any drones because you're already fine economically. Like if you look at the worker count, MaxPax has been using that chrono boost to its full effect. Now even ahead as far as the workers goes. And he hasn't really been killing drones. Kinda sick. Let him cook, is what the people would say, right? Youngsters like MaxPax and Reynor. Me as an old man, I don't know if I can say that. Like for real, low-key, I think that's kind of cringe for me to say such things, but anyways, others might call it based. We are gonna get some Archon drops here for Max. Let's see how much damage he can do. I recently casted a series where Mana was doing this in basically every single one of his games. So maybe this is something MaxPax took from Mana? Not sure. But it is a cute little play. Overlord is collateral there for the creep tumor, so he managed to kill the creep tumor in the end. Target firing down the queens. Archons are like 99% shields. Oh, don't lose him! Oh, he's gonna lose him. Yeah, one of them goes down. Prism a little too far away. He was probably trying to manage something at home. Put down an upgrade or start up another robo or something. That's a little bit sloppy if I'm being totally honest. Like you have like one job as an Archon juggler, and that is to not let the Archons touch the ground. Like juggling with 2 balls is relatively easy, right? When you have 3, that's when it gets a bit tricky. Not that I can juggle with 2 balls either, but you know, I feel like if I practiced as much as MaxPax would, I could probably figure it out. 3 Archon juggling is way harder. So losing 1 there is a bit silly. Anyways, not the end of the world, but it may come into play when Reynor ultimately goes across the map. This is good. Gets a group of Zerglings onto that 4th Nexus. It is going to get denied. Reynor, by the way, is gonna try and play a quick hive. So this is a 7-minute hive together with a lurker den. Now the drones are coming up to saturate the final gas geysers over here. We may get some more gas in this section too, but for now it's gonna be minerals. Either way, this is Reynor essentially trying to skip the mid game and go straight into a late game army. We've seen a lot of games lately where any Zerg player that is not called Serral is struggling in the late game. Not exactly sure how Reynor is currently feeling about it. Judging by the fact he's playing a lot of League of Legends. He's also been playing Protoss against Zerg in particular. He's been enjoying the Protoss side of things of this matchup a little bit better, it seems. So, I guess he's not enjoying late game much, but we'll find out. I'm hoping we're going to get a bit of a longer match here. Considering the Archon died, there's a good chance that we will see one. But MaxPax is gonna test the waters. He decided that 69 workers is all he needs. It's a pretty nice amount. And we're gonna just try and deal as much damage with this army as possible. So this is Archon, Immortal, Zealot, Storm. Classic unit composition. A very powerful one. Bunch of Zealots going around the site. Just mostly as a distraction. There are a lot of Lynx and Roaches up north on the Watchtower that I don't believe MaxPax knows about. And MaxPax is kind of chilling here on creep. One Stalker in the back. This does have real pushing potential though, because this is not that strong of an army yet here for Zerg. Reynor is kind of in that weird transitionary moment where he still needs to go into that late game Lurker switch. The Lurker upgrade is coming, but it's not here yet. MaxPax hits the perfect timing. There is a large Zerg army here that, well, actually, it used to be quite big, but a lot of the units have been picked off since. A few Lurkers are now morphing in, but I think MaxPax has kind of figured out the perfect timing to be attacking the Zerg player with. Yeah, his read on this game is pretty much flawless. I think you kill the base and get out. Yeah. Not bad whatsoever. You can't even really tell that Reynor made any critical mistakes here. MaxPax is just playing really good. Good storms going down. Lurkers do have their ranged upgrade now. Observer is sieged up in the perfect spot so the Hydras can't really reach it. Bunch of Roaches trying to come in from the back. MaxPax needs to get another warp in, and this Hydra actually snipes the Prism, and that may just trigger MaxPax's retreat. Although I said may. He decides to jump a little bit further. He needs to be careful, but I guess in his mind, this is one of those positions where you've just cleared so much creep. It's a perfect opportunity. The Lurker then is actually exposed over at this third base. Bunch of Lurkers trying to come in from the side, but Reynor taps out. Another pretty much flawless game by MaxPax. I gotta be careful. People have been accusing me of being a fanboy for a little while already. Every time somebody steps up, did Reynor just cancel a drone? Oh, we're going for a 12 pool? Really? Every time in StarCraft, whenever there's a player that reaches a new high and I start getting very excited, I always get a lot of people that call me a fanboy. Immediately. I've been called a fanboy of Clem, I've been called a fanboy of Cyril. I am currently in the active process of becoming a MaxPax fanboy. Yeah. I've been a Reynor fanboy many times, but Reynor's performance is always a little bit up and down. Sometimes he's practicing super hard when there's a big tournament going on, and he gets extremely high highs. And then, well, I guess for him also very frustrating lows. Some of those events he played last year must have been quite tilting for him, but MaxPax is just always good. I feel like MaxPax is always somebody you can, you know, if you were a betting man, I feel like MaxPax is an easy one to count on. Now, this is a 12 pool rush. I feel like a 12 pool is extremely uncommon these days, mostly because Protoss players normally scout. MaxPax, however, oh my lord, really? We're even gonna go for the drone variant? Okay. I kind of thought this was a 12 pool into a 17 hatch, but no, we're doing a drone rush, so he's leaving 2 workers behind. They will accumulate a little bit more money to continuously pump out workers. MaxPax did not probe scout. So, this is completely, like, he has no idea. He needs to wall himself in, he needs to start up a Zealot, but he doesn't. I mean, this is one way to try and see if you can obtain a victory. It's a very dangerous coin flip here for Reynor, but it looks like he managed to get away with it. Pylon is gonna get targeted down, and with that, I think MaxPax's chances in this game are pretty much 0. Probes are going to be pulled away from their mineral line, but he needs to keep that gateway up and running. Zerglings are obviously way better. Oh, nice little surround here. Good control by Reynor. Yeah, those probes are going to die real quick. Did he lose a drone? Hold up right now. Did Reynor just play... Oh, he lost 1 Zergling. Almost the perfect game. Couple seconds later, after like a what, 2-minute game, we find ourselves on Ultra Love. Now, if I was MaxPax, I'd be sending a probe. Yeah. Reynor's like, yo, bro, you've been playing some shenanigans lately. I mean, very conservative shenanigans. You're not really going hyper cheese or anything like that, but I've noticed you're cutting corners. Let me see if I can get a quick little win on you. This time around, MaxPax is going to send that probe at the very beginning of the game. Reynor once more, by the way. Did we just do the exact same thing again? This is him pretending to go for an expansion, but he's not going for an expansion. This is him pretending to now go for a third base, but he's not going for a third base. Reynor is once more back-to-back 12 pooling. I don't know if I'm reading too much into this, but I feel like there's been a lot of like silent protest in Zerg players' gameplay lately. Problem is Cyril is still winning. It must be really frustrating, dude, if you are... anyways. It looks like Reynor is gonna turn this drone into now a proxy hatch. As long as you're paying attention, though, as Protoss, you can prevent this. Yeah. He needs to chase this. Okay, well, the hatch goes down, but I don't think that's the ideal position. You kind of want to position it in such a way that you can block the wall off, which is why a 12 pool is actually kind of terrible on Ultra Love. It's much better on maps. If you want to go for a proxy hatch, it's much better on maps that don't have a ramp leading into the natural expansion, because then you can actually plant it down as part of the wall. Now, if you put a Zealot on hold position, this is still a full wall off. Yeah, the hatchery is scary, but it's not nearly as scary than if you would have been able to cancel it now and allow the Zerglings to run in. There is a natural expansion going down as well for Reynor. This is a major skill check. This is one of those builds. If you're a ladder hero, I highly advise giving these type of builds as Zerg a try, because this is a really difficult defense for Protoss. You need to dance this pretty much perfectly. Yeah, the way MaxPax is defending this is glorious. Obviously, he's not out of the waters yet. And it's by no means an easy game from here. But this is looking very smooth. Zealots have a lot higher damage per second. Adept walks back. Okay. Yeah, brilliant. Brilliant defense. Now, the hatchery is done. A queen is coming up. Keep in mind that one creep tumor can still be an absolute disaster here for Max, because he already cannot build his natural expansion. Adepts are starting to chase this down now. There's not going to be Zergling speed. That probe has scouted everything. One probe over here in a little bit of trouble. Couple links just popped out of that cocoon. It is absolutely critical for MaxPax to snipe the creep tumor that Brenda is going to try to put down. Two probes have gone down so far. Not quite enough to justify this. Hatchery is running dangerously low. He doesn't really need to target fire down the queen. Yeah, he knows where she's going. She wants to poop in the corner, dude. Yeah, it's one of the things Brenda likes to do. We don't judge her for it. But whenever you invite Brenda to a birthday party, she's always going to try and, you know, put a little tumor in the corner. Yeah. Perfect defense. I mean, you can be critical here and say, all right, lost 3 probes. This, if you struggle against proxy hatchery rushes with a 12 pool, it is very hard to defend, but this is the way you want to defend it. Basically, just don't miscontrol your units and keep everything going. Now, the reason why this build is not commonly played anymore for Zergs is because if Protoss manages it well, you are quite far behind. Again, it's not so much resource-wise, it's not so much worker-wise, but it's time-wise. There is only just now a little bit of gas mining here for Reynor. He doesn't have any tech, he doesn't have Zergling speed, he's got a bunch of slow Zerglings that can't do much. I like this counterattack here from MaxPax a lot. He doesn't need to commit, but he's forcing out a ton of Zergling production here. And the more Zerglings that are being made right now, the smaller the economy of Zerg is going to be. 4 drones... Or, sorry, 4 adepts. I mean, if we can get 4 drones, that would be massive. Decides to go for a Void Ray first, just to be safe. Yeah. What do you do now here, as Zerg? You are far behind. Metabolic Boost starts up as a Void Ray is like halfway done. That is not really the situation you want to find yourself in. It'll be difficult for MaxPax to really decide how to proceed from here. But, I mean, procedurally, I feel like MaxPax is the best Protoss. From these kind of positions, he should be able to figure it out. This is one of those things that you learn by grinding tens of thousands of games. That is not an exaggeration. That is, yeah, literally the amounts of games that MaxPax will play all the time. So you should be able to time all of this correctly. Now, for example, when do you take a third? What is the timing for a third? Normal timing is 350, but that's not going to happen. Do you tech up first? Do you get a Twilight Council upgrade going first? Are you gonna try and be aggressive? Well, obviously, like I said, there is no link speed. Slow links, though, are still decent. There's no glaives here either, right? So those adepts actually can fall off pretty rapidly. Third hatchery is in a world of trouble. The beam is being made thick. Prismatic alignment. He's trying to see if he can kill the third. Decides to commit for the natural expansion instead. And you know what? I think with some good control, he should still be able to secure the kill on that too. Oracle swoops in right now. He decides to go after the queens. With the queens out of the equation, the third base is gonna go down. And it looks like that will indeed be the case. The control here from MaxPax. Oh, yeah. Yeah, this, I mean, the third is probably gonna stay alive because the queens dealt a lot of damage. Maybe he can get lucky. Nope. Oracle is just shooting away at whatever it can hit now. Spore Crawler in the main base is late because the queens were supposed to defend it. Utter domination from MaxPax. I can't really word it any differently. Yeah, he lost one match, but that was against a 12 pool. And that was in a situation where he just didn't scout. Right? Those sort of games happen. That was incredibly well done here. GG.